Okay, so I'm just going to start the recording. So thank you very much for joining today. The goal of the session really is to show you how to increase adoption and hopefully more frequent use of WX within your business. Okay, so we're going to highlight what we believe are the benefits for engaging your users and having them access the WX portal more frequently. And then we're going to take a look at some of the ways that we can actually achieve this using standard functionality within WX. Okay, so why should we look to improve the engagement of users on WX? And what are the benefits really that you can gain by investing some time in this particular area? So I've been fortunate enough to be out visiting customers over the last kind of probably couple of months now since I've joined the business, and feedback that I've certainly been hearing more often than not is, although the HR teams are seeing real benefit from the system, so and all the admin capabilities that they have through the HR portal, reporting, automation, etc., we're hearing that users, and in some cases managers as well, are not really engaging with the platform, with the exception of perhaps going into book holiday, of course, and doing annual performance reviews. I think initially when you have users that come into the system for onboarding, you have got the ability to share quite a lot of documentation with them and help with that initial onboarding process. But once users have employees have been with the business a while, they're perhaps not engaging with it in the way that we would hope that they would. And really, this is a real shame, because the power of the platform is quite vast, and it really isn't designed to be kind of a once a year, once in a blue moon type of system that your users will actually engage with. There's so much that we can do to kind of provide information, gain feedback from your users as well, which I'll come on to, but also, especially for managers, give them a good level of information and data that's going to help them to make informed decisions when interacting with their team, both from performance, looking at development of team members, looking at helping them with compensation planning and talent planning, and really just ensuring that their team is kind of a healthy, happy team and is as productive as possible. So that's really kind of why we want to start to engage with our users through the system a little bit more. Whilst I've been out kind of visiting customers, some of the office spaces that you guys have been phenomenal. And I think that really shows kind of a trend in looking to drive and make our workplaces an enjoyable and functional but enjoyable, fun places to be, and really injecting the culture of our businesses into the environment, the physical environment that we give our workers to kind of do their jobs in. And so really what we're looking to do, hopefully, is to continue and extend that injection of culture into the applications that they're using as well, and that includes WX. Now, I appreciate that we've got organisations that have other systems that do a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, but there's no reason that we can't start to leverage or integrate with those systems and bring some of that information into our platform as well. So they're the kind of key areas that I wanted to kind of focus on today. Again, looking at kind of enriching the experience for managers within the system, so the HR experience, and really helping them to self-service information through using things like WX reports that we've recently launched. And I know that many of you are kind of about now getting into the position where you're looking to implement this in your businesses. So really helping them to self-serve WX reporting and that data, having it at their fingertips and not having to rely and request from HR that data. We're going to talk a bit about HR notifications. Again, I'm aware that some of you have been using these already, specifically around giving information and guidance on how to complete tasks within WX, and also the internal communications kind of element as well. So how we can kind of leverage those three different areas to give that data. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the mobile app. I'm not going to go into the setup of that, but really kind of what I think the mobile app can bring to helping get our users into the system a bit more frequently. So I'm going to jump across to our trial org. I'm going to show you some of these areas set up in the system. And as I said, the main focus will be looking at HR notifications, internal comms, and the reporting side of these. Okay, so just bear with me one sec while I do that. Has anyone got any questions or thoughts at this early stage? Hopefully it's all making sense. Okay, fantastic. So what you can see on screen now is the new interface for WX. So this is in your sandboxes at the moment. So if you haven't had a chance to log in, I think a lot of you will have done already. But if you haven't, please do go and take a look. This really is just the very beginning of the improvements that we're going to be making for the user experience within the portal. And so the first thing you'll see is that the left-hand navigation bar has been minimized automatically. And really what that does more than anything is give us more real estate on the screen. Okay, so for things like our notifications and what have you as well. We've also standardized some of the way that the icons look. So if I just click into the sidebar using this little menu at the top, we've now got arrows instead of plus signs. So when we click down, we can see the processes that sit beneath it, etc. So please do go take a look at this. The next area of focus for kind of user experience improvement in here, we're looking at objectives and performance. So those of you that are kind of up to date with our roadmap, you'll know that over the next 2 releases, so coming in September and December, we're focusing very much on improving how you can work with performance, objectives and competencies within the system, and also providing you with a consolidated view of those 3 areas. At the moment, they are very modular, and so we're aware of that. So that's just kind of a quick overview as to kind of how the interface has changed ever so slightly. The example that I'm going to run through today as an area to help get users into the system a little bit more frequently is the recognition piece. And I appreciate that most of you have some form of recognition that you operate within your businesses, or that if you haven't, you are certainly looking to implement something like that. And this area is a really nice quick win for you if you haven't got it set up already. It's really easy to configure. We typically would look to link a piece of recognition or feedback to either a competency or a value that we determine, our company values. So here at Fairsail / Sage People, we have our own set of values, and that's what we link our recognition to when we are inputting it. And anybody in the business can provide recognition for any other employee. It's not limited to managers or executives. And of course, recognition can also feed into the performance reviews, be it informally or not. It's still nice to have that awareness raised within the business of when your team members are doing a particularly good job. And also, I think it's as important to encourage your users, your employees, to give recognition as well as to kind of gracefully accept it as well. So what I've used here on screen is a HR notice board, and I've dropped this straight onto my home page, and really to kind of identify that as a way to give kind of alerts, announcements or key messages, you can use the HR notice board to do that. You can, as you can see, embed images in here. You can also embed videos as well. And I've just gone with the kind of the top 3 recognition winners in the month. At a previous company where parking spaces were a privilege, the top 3 execs would always nominate a key individual in the business that could have their parking space for a month. And we've also got here in our business, we've got kind of awards where the CEO has a scheduled report each month of all of the recognition receivers. And he reads those out in a monthly, not all of them because there's always over 100, but he will pick ones that he finds either particularly pertinent or particularly funny as well, because obviously we can have some fun with the kind of feedback that we give. And I think it's really nice to raise the profile of this as part of our culture. So this is, as I say, a HR notice board, and I've just included, obviously, who's been recognised and also pulled out some comments as well. So that's a really nice way of just kind of raising the profile of something within your organisation straight away as soon as they log in. Okay. Beneath this, then I've used the internal communication process, and I've been able to embed a Giphy. So Liz Lemon there, I'm afraid she's a little bit pixelated, couldn't quite get that right, but essentially again it's just kind of wanting to enforce that recognition is a good thing to be giving, and then also kind of confirm how they can do that. So we can then click through into this internal communication and understand how we can give instant recognition. Okay. From here, I've also got the ability to click on the link, and this will open up in a new tab the recognition process within my WX. So I can then go and see very quickly any that I've received, and I can also go and look at those that I've given, make sure that I've fed back as I wanted to, and from here I can just click on New. So as I mentioned before, we can link recognition to competency or values, and you can overwrite this label with what fits the terminology of your business. Edward Allen is he's my go-to guy for solutions, so I'm going to give him another recognition here as well. So great job. You can be as specific in here as you'd like to. Once that's saved, that's then immediately, typically we have emails that come off the back of this, so an email can be sent directly to Edward to say that I've given him recognition, and as I mentioned before, we've also got that report that it would drop into as well, so that key members and managers can see, you know, how their team are performing and what their colleagues and peers actually think of them. So hopefully that's all making sense. So it's just a nice way of including and using the internal communications in there as well. The recognition given piece that you can see here on the right, that's a summary tile. And again, it's quite nice impact, especially for managers or people that are like the CEO, the exec team, to see the kind of recognition that's being given, how well it's being kind of adopted within the system as well. And then they can also have the potential to click through to a report to see kind of the level of recognition that's been given in this particular month. So really just kind of building out the types of messaging that I want to give around the launch of a new kind of initiative within the business. And I've done that using a new WX service, dropped a HR notice board at the top, dropped in an internal communication tile with a bit of movement there, so a bit of a GIF, and then also using a summary tile as well. So using a combination of the different kinds of processes that we've got to really deliver that message. Now that's all great. You know, we can put as much lovely content into our system as we like, but at the moment we're a bit beholden to when a user will actually log into the desktop and actually go and have a look at what's in the system. And as we've mentioned, typically they will do this when they need something, so like they want to book a holiday or log an absence, or they might go in when they've been kind of, you know, been told that they need to kind of complete their performance reviews if that's an area of the system that you're currently working with. So how can we kind of promote this new information that we've got? So that leads me very nicely onto the mobile app and how we can use that. So as hopefully you're aware, the app for iOS has been available for a little while, and on speaking to customers, no one's really made a big splash about kind of the mobile app being available to date, and that's predominantly because we were waiting on the Android side of it to be available as well, if you've got a user group that are kind of split between the different platforms. So the Android app will be available from the 5th of June. It's just finished its beta kind of run and is going into general release on the 5th of June. So you have both of those available to you. Now with the app, you have flexibility and control over which areas of WX you want to show on the application. So, we all know and have recognised that the ability to not only book our holiday on our phones, but also to have managers approve holiday for their team members on their phones and on the go is going to be a really big win. And we're so used to doing everything. Oh, there's an app for that. We're so used to doing everything on our phones. Bringing Sage People into that arena, it only makes sense, and it was just kind of it was on its way. What we don't necessarily want them to be doing on their phones is completing their performance reviews. Okay, we want them to actually be sat in front of their computers, thinking about what it is that they're going to, that they're doing. We don't want them to be rushing through it. But what we can start to do with the mobile app is use push notifications, which I think is a really great way to kind of push out information, notify our users of new things, new initiatives that we've got going on, as well as kind of notifying them of actions that they may need to complete, such as approvals on HR requests, approvals of holidays, and actually going in and confirming that they've read the new policy on XYZ that the company is needing you to do. So I think that by kind of launching the mobile app, we'll certainly be able to help engage users with WX because it'll be more kind of front of mind, that there's actually more in there, there's more content available to them than perhaps what they think the system can do for them today. So again, this here is just a HR notice board. I've dropped this in at the footer of this particular service just so that I can show you what it looks like. And you can also, again, include links, so perhaps to a mobile guide, how they can go and access it, etc. You can put links in here, or even a video if you really need to, but I think most people know how to download an app from either Apple or Android. Any questions on kind of what I've got on screen at the moment, or is everyone kind of particularly comfortable with that? Fantastic. No questions today, so hopefully that means that it all makes sense, but hopefully also kind of giving you some ideas and a bit of food for thought as we move through. So other areas of the system where we're looking to engage. Okay, so talking about injecting our culture into kind of the system and making kind of, as we all want to live and breathe our business's culture, especially if it's a fun startup, that that kind of environment that we're in. And a lot of organizations have values. And some of them need to, some of them perhaps need to are always talking about redoing their values. For us, we went through the exercise at our kickoff earlier on in the year, and these are our particular values, so Pathfinder, Impact, With, and Heart. And so I think it's important that we can kind of keep these again front of mind. And I've just used an internal communication for these particular values that you can see on screen, and you can also then link through in the background to more information about what that means for your particular business. So again, looking at kind of keeping that kind of content relevant and up to date using internal communications. Okay, so that's quite a simple example, but again, I think injecting some imagery and color and potentially movement, if you've got videos as well, is always good to kind of grab the attention when you're in the system. So I'm just going to come into kind of our final area on here, looking at Social Sage. Okay, so again, I know that some of you have intranets and things like that, but you can use HR notice boards to really give a place to things that the culture of your organization, as I've mentioned a few times. So this is actually a pretty good representation of what we do internally here. And so you can inject that into a calendar and show that again on a HR notice board. So we have things like Monday lunch is always provided for us here, so making sure that the menus and everything are updated. Boot camp, for example, and in our WX, we have the ability for all of our users to enter their dietary requirements, and that's absolutely used then for when food is ordered into the business for everybody. We've just started a tennis club in the glorious weather. That started today, in fact. So again, we're kind of putting these things in, and then we've got payday drinks, pie and a pint night. There's squash clubs. There's all sorts of different social activities that are going on that if users want to broadcast to the business, this is a really good place to kind of put that information. Now, I've also included down here, again, an internal communication that can click through to a particular event. And the reason I've done this is because you can as an administrator, control the start date and end date of these particular internal communications. So you're thinking, oh, this all looks great, but me as a HR admin haven't got time to administer all of this. But actually, if you could kind of, perhaps put aside a short amount of time, you can stack these up. So if you've got quite a full calendar of events that you want to promote within the system, you can kind of spend some time putting them all in, using their effective start dates and end dates, and then they will appear and disappear in WX as per the dates that you've entered. So hopefully it's not kind of an ongoing maintenance thing, it's more of an intermittent maintenance thing to kind of get this content and keep it moving. So hopefully, again, that kind of all makes sense for you. So moving on to more of the kind of the work-based stuff. So that's all fantastic. We're kind of notifying, recognizing our colleagues and our team members for the great job that they're doing. We're alerting them and informing them about new things new services or applications that we're providing them. We're staying social, so we're keeping them up to date with all the things that are going on in the business and helping them to kind of integrate with each other, etc., which is really important. But also we're looking at things like performance as well. So if you are, or if you're not using the performance module, that's no problem, but we've got the performance element set up here. And really, as part of performance, we're typically asking our employees to come up with a set of objectives that we want them to work with. And it might be that they are manager-led objectives, and it might be that they are employee-led objectives. And that's really down to you as an organization. But again, we've got an example here of a video on how to kind of create smart objectives, smart goals. So we can start to implement videos and how-to guides. But again, instead of it being quite flat and the kind of, here's a PDF, we can actually start to make this a bit more interactive by using videos, posting perhaps personal messages from particular leaders of the business into the system that are accessible by everybody. You've also got the ability to confirm. So if you do put out an important announcement or alert within the system, you've got the ability for you to make sure that basically the user has to select to confirm that they've acknowledged or read that piece of information or they've watched the video. And that's particularly useful for training. And as I'm sure a lot of you as a part of the implementations that you've gone through will have talked about onboarding and training and things like that. And that's a really key place that this usually comes up. But in areas such as performance, it's also very important that we've got this information available. So here we've got access, visibility and access to the things that are happening within the system, and really helping managers to engage a little bit further. We've got WX reports. So if they want to understand a little bit more about how their team is performing, what the cross-section of their team looks like when it comes to salary and compensation, but also from a diversity standpoint, if you've got kind of multiple teams that sit beneath you, then the analytics piece and the WX reporting is really going to be what comes into play for you there. Okay, here are some examples that we've got within the system. There is more that you're able to do. There are some limitations, of course, to WX reporting. As you'd expect, it's not a fully fledged Salesforce report that sits in the background that HR have access to, but this certainly should give managers the right level of information that they can start to use in making particular decisions. Okay, so particularly when you're looking at things like the performance rating distribution for the team. What's the risk of loss within my team? What's the impact of loss within my team? And linking that through into talent planning as well, which can be also quite important. So I'm just going to click through to one of these, and with the way we've kind of voiced or put together our WX reports is based on kind of asking a question and then having the report give you the answer. Of course, you can determine exactly how you want to display this particular information. So from here, we can actually take a look at who, in my team, the majority of my team members all just meet expectations. I have a handful that are exceeding and I've got one that's below. And actually, for me, I don't personally think that that's where I want to be. I want my team to be exceeding expectations across the board because I'm a perfectionist. So that's kind of where I want to be. So having that kind of information will help me to understand and perhaps build out a development plan with my employees so that I can focus on the areas that I think they might be struggling. So as part of that, I can go into talent planning. Down the bottom here, and this kind of off the back of my reporting I know to come into here, and I can then take a look at the individuals in my team. So bear with me while that just is loading up. So some of you may have seen this kind of 9-box grid, but because of the WX support, and I can see that a lot of my team are meeting expectations or they are exceeding, I've got one chap here who's actually below expectations. And then I've also got an understanding of what his risk of leaving is, but actually the impact of loss for Mohammed is very high. It would really cause me quite a lot of pain to lose this individual. So my role as a manager then, having this knowledge in front of me, is going to allow me to put some kind of development plan in place. And another area of the system that you can start to use for this and have both you and the user engage with is an area called manager notes. So that's where we can kind of log the fact that we've had a sit-down conversation, we've had to understand why he doesn't feel like he's really fitting into the team. Maybe we can point him down the road of some of the social events that we've got on to try and help integrate him. But actually, it's really important that I'm logging and making sure that I'm supporting him and developing in him a way so that I can minimize the risk of him leaving and not have to deal with this high impact that I would see off the back of losing him. So you can start to see how the different areas of the system tie in together. And I think when we come back to the WX supports and what you're able to really do with that, it becomes quite powerful. So starting to look at, as an example, high performers in your team that haven't had a salary increase for set number of time, and what's the impact of potentially losing those individuals, and how can I address that, and having that information at your fingertips as opposed to perhaps relying on HR to provide that information through scheduled reports, or it being as a bit of a surprise. You've kind of got a gut feeling of what's going on, but actually you can't see within the system where that data is, can start to help managers make more informed decisions using data in the system, so hopefully producing a much better outcome. So really we want to kind of promote WX as a place where users can go to get information. It's easy for them to access. We've got good content that fits the culture of our business, so it's continuing to promote all that great technology and individuality that we've got in our office spaces, and start to bring that level of culture and ease of working into a system like this. They can interact with it for their own personal development, but also managers certainly have that impact as well, so that they can see what's happening within their teams and how they can do that. So I've got a question here, so bear with me while I just try to open it up. So John says, can we have a service that is customized as a full HTML page instead of using processes? So the HR notice board will give you that to a certain extent. However, at the moment, in order for, if you just want a service with a HR notice board and nothing else, that will it won't show unless you have at least one process sitting beneath it, as would normal. So if you've got processes that sit beneath the service, then the service will show in the menu. And what I mean by services and processes are these things here. So talent planning would be a process, and planning tools would be a service. And so HR notice boards can give you that. I think they are predominantly rich text as opposed to HTML, but internal comms, for example, certainly can give you HTML, but they would need to click on the tile through to it. So I think the answer is 50-50 there, so not quite. Hopefully that answers. Bear with me 1 second, I'm just trying to get to my questions. Let's just open that up, now I can actually see. Okay. Yep, I think that's answered the question. So I haven't got anything else that I can see for questions for anybody. Has anyone got anything further that they wanted to share, or have they got any questions? Hopefully that's been useful, a bit of an insight. And really, what I wanted to say is this is a teaser for the information that we will be delivering as part of the user group, which will be doing more demos, which will include things such as pulse surveys as well. So how can we push out pulse surveys and get feedback from our users? Do embedded videos have to be public, YouTube or Vimeo? No, I think the videos, if I've just selected those because they are easy, you just need to know what the embedded code is that you've got in order to actually insert those in. So if they're held on your own platforms, then that's absolutely fine. Is there a size limit on images that you can post in the header footer of the notice board? So not that I've come across. It has taken a little bit of tweaking to get the image to display as I'd like it to. They are widescreen as opposed to kind of 4:9, so supposed to square. So they do need to be in a widescreen format to avoid kind of having the scrolly bars on the side. And now that the new WX is in place, they are responsive. So so yeah, for a standard tile, I've got another question here about recommended height and width. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've got a lot of questions coming in. You guys are great. So recommended height and width. I went with about 220 height, and I think it was 160 width for the smaller ones. Within the HR notice board, you really have quite a lot of latitude to play with that because you're displaying it on a much larger area on screen. So that really is down to kind of how big you want the image to display. If you're wanting to display an image within a tile, it is a bit smaller. And so I think we're looking at about, 220 was the width that I went to for about 160 height. Okay. Is there a size limit on the headers and footers you can post? Oh, hang on, let me just scroll down a bit. Is there any way to make the content adapted so when we show the left content beneath it to move a bit on the right to be shown full? Not quite. So I don't think we've got the ability to do that at the moment, Jonut. I think it's what you see is what you get. So when I've clicked on a link or something like that, it's actually kind of opened up into a new tab. And when the images and the text is displayed within the HR notice board, it is fixed as to how you've actually included it in the edit screen. We can't kind of control increasing or decreasing the tile based on kind of if we hover over it or if we kind of click on it. We can't do that at the moment, I'm afraid. No, sorry, Jen, the questions aren't, they might be available if you can see them on my screen, but I haven't shown them specifically. What I am going to do with the questions is I will take the questions that I've got and I will post answers into the chatter group as well, so that anybody that wasn't able to be on the demo can also kind of get answers to these questions. So I will make sure that I post them, and yeah, that should help. And a question about can we pin the left-hand sidebar so that it's not minimized anymore. That's all the work we've done to WX to minimize it for you. So the answer to that, I'm afraid, is not at the moment. It is a case of having to come back in here. Of course, what you do have is whenever you click into a particular area within WX, you've got it across the top bar here as well. So whenever I've clicked, I can come in and click back into it. It's kind of still looking at that particular navigation bar as well. But no, we haven't. Yeah, we've just spent all that time minimizing it for everybody. Unfortunately, we can't pin it to open it up. Any more questions from anybody? Please do Can you ask what Planning Tools is? Yes, Jen, absolutely you can. Planning Tools is a module which we use to help with so talent planning, so making sure that we've got successes in the business, also understanding kind of where we feel the risk of our users are, whether they're meeting expectations. So basically always looking to ensure that we are not going to be impacted by a sudden loss of an employee who decides to leave. Salary planning and bonus planning do exactly what they say on the tin. So when you're going through your salary increase cycle, you're able to use the salary planning tool within the system to give access to managers to propose the suggested increase. And we've got some pretty sophisticated formulas that sit behind that, so you can tie into your salary increases things that would impact it, such as performance ratings, whether you've got a kind of a company-wide bonus, for example, that is a standard percentage that everybody receives, dependent on company performance, and so you can determine the pot that each region or each manager gets for their team, and also based on performance, for example, propose a suggested increase to that individual's salary. And that can also be in line with where they sit in a salary band if you're using salary bands or tying that to a particular job level, for example. So we've got a number of different ways we can do that, but essentially what that then kind of rolls down, and let me just show you on screen. Bear with me one moment. So if I come into planning, we've got compensation planning, which includes our salary and bonus planning tool. Once we've filled out and built out our formula to how we're going to allocate a pot of money or budget to each of our managers and our teams, this is what they would have access to view, so they can see at the top level what their current salary total is, what the suggested increase is, and at the moment what the proposed increase is. So that's based on information actually input by the manager. They then go down through each of their direct reports, and we can see here that we've got the salary information. I've got visibility of performance ratings as well, and here I can enter either the percentage, which will then calculate the amount, or I can enter the amount. In fact, perhaps I won't give them that much, which will then tell me the percentage increase. The reason that's gone red is because the suggested increase was 4%, and I've gone with over 5.5 because I quite like Marcus. I think he's a good guy. And then down here, green, we are kind of bang on the particular increase. So it allows me very quickly and visually to see where I'm kind of sitting in line with what's been suggested. You've also got the ability to add validation tools around this as well. So if, for example, you've said that I want to go ahead and give Marcus a 5.63% increase, I won't be able to submit that until I've actually submitted a rationale as to why he deserves that much of an increase, for example. So I've got management of that. And we can tie in bonus planning as well. And really this is kind of controlled by you. So salary planning is typically done annually. Bonus planning can be done annually. Some organisations run that quarterly, so we have the ability to turn this on or off, so that you can do bonus planning on its own three out of the 4 times, and then on the 4th go we get to do salary as well. And again, we would calculate a particular budget or increase or an allocated pot of money that you can dish out as bonuses to your employees, and then that all feeds through. Looking at the team member down, I get a view of worksheets, so I can see kind of all the worksheets. So Vincent's quite high up in the business, so he can see down through managers and all of their direct reports. So he's got a really good holistic view of the salary information. And I can see straight away I've got some red numbers here, so these guys are suggesting over and above what's been proposed, or they're proposing, sorry, over and above what's been suggested. So I can then go through and actually select on a particular worksheet and have a look and see whether I agree or disagree with the information that's held in there. So I've got some flexibility and information. Once as a manager I have submitted this, it is sent to a higher manager for approval. Once that higher manager has approved it, it's then locked, and then we're good to go. Hopefully it's a whistle-stop tour, but that's answered your question on that. Cool. Just conscious of time. If anyone has got any more questions, please do feel free to post them on the chatter group and we will respond to them. I'll take the questions that I received on the through the webinar and post the answers that we gave to those again, so you can go back to them. I've recorded the session, so we will post that as well. And as I mentioned, the user group is in June. So we look forward to seeing you guys there, either in person or via, remotely if you're unable to attend in person. Just a reminder, we're covering off in-depth performance management and objective settings on day 1, and then on day 2 in the morning we'll be diving into more configuration of how to do some of the things that we've talked about today, especially around WX reporting, and giving you much more of an insight into that, along with pulse surveys, which is going into pilot in June as well. And then in the afternoon, we've got our usual kind of roadmap updates and updates from the exec team and also our people scientist, Sarah. So please do attend if you can. If not, most of that's recorded as well, so we can share the afternoon update with you on the user chatter group. So I hope that was useful and a bit of a taster into some of the things that you can do, and we'll evolve that at the user group as well. And I hope you all have a great bank holiday weekend.